Hey everyone, welcome back to Launch Codes Football. My name is Chris.
And I'm Chelsea.
And today it is episode 41. It's been a little bit of a break here, but we're back, we're ready, and we're fueled up and ready to start talking about the offseason. And this upcoming season is gonna be insane. Chelsea, how are you feeling today?
Doing pretty good. It's been a hot second since we've been on here, but we are back producing content every single week, every single day on our socials and on our podcast. So definitely share with your friends, keep up listening and posting with us. Also, wanted to shout out the fact that we hit 1,000 total listens
Let's
for our
go.
podcast. First milestone. That is totally awesome. Could not be more excited, to be honest. So, next goal 2,000. So let's get it going, guys. What are we talking about today, Chris?
Today, we are going to be talking about just kind of some of the off-season news. We want to start with what's going on with the Panthers training camp right now, or what's going on, with their practices and stuff, and what's been going on in their news. So I wanted to start out talking about this because, let's go back to a familiar topic for myself, right? And then we'll get into some other stuff later, the Colts today with Khari Willis, and also some smaller news that we don't think deserves like a whole segment to themselves, but just some things that we can talk about as well. And also a little bit of my own spicy hot take here, in my opinion. But anyways, let's get started.
It's hot take season, people.
Let's get started with the Panthers here. So the Panthers have been going through their practices. Things have been going pretty well for the most part. Matt Rule's been very high on Sam Darnold, as usual, to be honest.
Typical.
Everybody, people have been saying Sam Darnold is more focused than ever. He's looked better than ever in practice. And I'm like, that all sounds good and great to me, but it's literally practice. I don't care till he throws footballs well on the field. That's how I feel personally. I always see teams let me tell you, if you look on team social media,
let him tell you.
If you look on team social medias, what are they all going to say? They're not going to say practice was going terrible, their receivers were dropping ball. No, they're going to say that it's going great. This player looks more focused than ever. This player's ready. That's the kind of reporting you're going to get. That's the kind of things that the team wants you to see, and they're going to tell you. So, of course, they're going to say things like Sam Darnold has been more focused than ever. He looks more ready than ever. Of course, they're going to say all that. So, to me, all of these practice things don't really matter. But what could really matter here is the fact that Baker Mayfield is being rumored, and the Panthers have been very interested in trading for him. Now, here's my thing. Baker Mayfield definitely has had his relationship with the Browns severed, in my opinion. It's kind of what happens when you just all of a sudden turn on your quarterback for a new one. That may not even play, by the way. So now
we'll get into that later.
Exactly. So I think personally that this has a decent chance of happening. There seems to be quite a few Panther fans that want him, quite a few that don't. I'm in the camp of, he's definitely an upgrade over Sam Darnold, but is he going to be worth the money you're going to have to pay him? And is he going to be worth, just everything, what you're going to have to trade for him and everything? And you also have what looks to be a promising young quarterback, at least as of now, we don't know, but a promising young quarterback in Matt Corral. There's a lot of people that have been recently pretty high on him, and so far he's looked decent. Again, it's practice, so it doesn't really matter, to be honest. But, maybe Matt Corral works out. There's a lot of people high on him. To be honest, the Panthers, their defense or their offensive coordinator admitted that, anyone's got the job. It's open to anybody right now. Well, he at first admitted it was going to Darnold, but then he was like, I shouldn't have said that. But I really actually do believe this job is open to anybody. I think if it were to stand today, Sam Darnold would be the starter because he has more experience in the NFL. But I don't know if I'm sold on Baker being a good place or Carolina being a good place for Baker to succeed. And I don't even really think Cleveland should do this trade. And the reason being, they don't even know if they're going to have a quarterback to start. And if they don't have Deshaun Watson, what are they going to go to without Baker? At least Baker, what you've got. You know what he can do. You've had experience with him for the past few years. But now you give up on him, and Deshaun Watson can't play for the next 2-3 years. Well, what do? you're kind of out of luck now, and you're scrambling last minute for a quarterback for a team that, in my opinion, is ready to win right now. So, Chelsea, what do you think about that? Do you think they should trade Baker Mayfield away, and do you think Carolina would be a good place for him?
So I think that there is no argument that Sam Darnold is a better quarterback than Baker Mayfield. Like, Baker Mayfield is unequivocally better. Like, no one's going to argue that. It's just, is he good enough to get the kind of money that he's going to want? And is he good enough to warrant the kind of trade that the Browns are going to want for him? I was pretty high on Baker during the Colts offseason. I wanted him for the Colts. I really thought we were going to trade for him. I will admit my enthusiasm was a bit premature, considering he really had about the similar really he had the same stats as Carson Wentz did last year, and Carson Wentz was a little above average. So we really wasn't going to be much of an upgrade for us to go from Carson Wentz to Baker Mayfield. And it took me until we didn't get him to figure that out, because, you know, us as sports fans just sometimes get caught up in our emotions, as we do. But I don't know. I feel like you were saying, I mean, you already have at least one starting caliber quarterback, right? I mean, I don't think that the Panthers drafted Matt Corral with the intention of starting him in year one. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if it happened, simply because Sam Darnold is the worst starting quarterback in the entire football league. So it wouldn't surprise me if that came to fruition and he did end up starting. But I don't think that was the intention. I mean, if it was the intention, they would have taken him in the first round. They didn't, right? So, you know, it's what it is. If they trade for Baker, they better finesse the Browns. Because the Browns kind of seem to be doing stupid things right now with Deshaun, and then Deshaun, more like cases coming up with his whole trial, and like more testimonies, and like all this stuff is happening. And you would think that the Browns management would be like, you know what maybe we should do? Keep Baker Mayfield until we figure out if the guy we just paid millions of dollars to is going to get suspended or not. Like I said, I mean, I don't think that it would be a bad trade for Carolina, but I think what determines if it's bad or not is how much they give up. Like, if you can get Baker Mayfield for like 2 years, give up like, I don't know, like a second round pick or a third round pick and like a backup player or something, like, I would do that. I mean, that's not bad. And at his value, remember in the Browns were like, we want a giant package for Baker Mayfield. We want a first round pick and a starting player. And yeah, the whole league was like, about that. That's not going to happen. So obviously his trade value has diminished. They're not going to get a first for him. They might not even get a second for him. So if you can get Baker Mayfield for a second or a third round pick next year, and a backup player, like a rotational guy or someone that's older that has a big contract that you could ship off, I don't think it'd be a bad trade. But if Matt Rule was like, you know, who we're going to send every young defensive starter that's a star that we have for Baker Mayfield, obviously then it's stupid. So yeah, I wouldn't be totally against it, but I wouldn't expect Baker Mayfield to like come in and revolutionize the franchise, right? Because I mean, at this point, it's pretty obvious that, you know, Baker Mayfield is above average, but, you know, he's not going to win an MVP. You know, he's not going to carry you to a Super Bowl. Like, those things just aren't going to happen unless he has a superb team around him, which the Panthers quite simply don't have. And he did have a superb team around him in the Browns, and they still didn't make it. So it's like, you kind of know what you're getting. So get him for a year or two. If he gets better, great. If he doesn't, it's like a Sam Darnold thing. You try him out, doesn't work out, you'll let him go, you trade him, whatever. Someone else will take him. People are desperate. So yeah, I just think it depends on the trade value.
I can agree to that. I think you hit a good point, definitely, on, you know, the fact that he has had a lot more in Cleveland and he hasn't had the success. So is he really going to do more with less here? Maybe. I don't know. To be honest,
hey, sometimes what a guy needs is a new atmosphere. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, look at someone like Peyton Manning, right? Peyton Manning was an absolute superstar with the Colts for the vast majority of his career. He went to an absolutely loaded Broncos team that he had never played with, in a division that he had never been in, right? And the dude went, and even though he was still injured, I mean, he was dominant, generally speaking. So sometimes that's all a guy needs, but I just don't know if Baker is the kind of guy that's going to transform his career.
True. He doesn't have the forehead that Peyton Manning did.
Yes, Peyton Manning, best forehead in NFL history, hands down.
No debate. But
as someone with a forehead, I can confirm Peyton Manning has the best forehead. So
Fair. But that kind of actually segments into our next little section here. So Chelsea, I figured you'd want to talk about this one a little bit more because
yeah, so some pretty big news coming out of Indianapolis today. Starting safety Khari Willis for the Colts retired today at the age of 26, which they should just rename the Colts the Indianapolis retirement homes because we just appear to be the destination of early retirements. So if we need a name change, Jim Irsay, I got you. They're retirement homes. But yeah, he retired. He did not play really that much at all over the past couple of years. He sustained a pretty bad neck injury. And when you get a neck injury, you know, that's kind of one of those injuries that unless you heal absolutely perfectly from it, like you're just never going to be the same. You know, he also had a couple of concussions, I believe. So he decided to retire at the age of 26 as a starter on a playoff caliber team to further pursue the ministry of Jesus Christ, which shout out to Jesus. I love when people pursue that as full-time ministry or full-time job or whatever. So I love that for Willis. Obviously, it, you know, kind of leaves a hole on the team going back to football. But Colts fans kind of have this sneaking suspicion that Ballard might have known that there was a chance of this happening because they traded up to draft a safety, Nick Cross, and they picked up Rodney McLeod, or however you say his name, from the Eagles in free agency. And I believe they picked up another free agent safety. So either they kind of had an inkling that this was going to happen, or they just had a really good foresight for depth on their team. So honestly, like he was really good. Like when he played, like he was really good. But he just had injury history. And like last year, like we were fine, generally speaking, without him out there. So I feel like this isn't the most big loss, you know, like it obviously hurts. And you hate to see guys retire before 30, you know, who have only played in the league for, you know, 3-4 years. You hate to see that. But I'm glad that he made the decision for him. Obviously, you want to be able to be healthy enough to live your entire life outside of playing football. So, yeah, kind of in the same vein as Andrew Luck, you know, just kind of picking, you know, the rest of your life and your health over your current situation, which takes, you know, a lot of wisdom and a lot of foresight. So I commend him for doing that. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's the biggest loss for us. It's certainly a loss, but it seems like we had some decent foresight, you know, kind of going into it. And I think Nick Cross is going to be really good. We traded up for him, and he was really good in college. So I think that we will be okay. But obviously, prayers and best wishes to Khari because, you know, you never want to see a guy leave early, but sometimes that's just what life demands. So
yeah, it is a shame that like sometimes injuries take people from the game, but also, you know, he's doing what he wants to do. He's doing what he feels called to do, and we respect that. You know, you can't be mad at him. Look, he's made millions by this point. He's done, you know, a lot, and so I think what if he's doing like what makes him happy, that's great. And like you said, I think the Colts will be fine. I mean, if they played most of the year without him, you know, and of last year, and they've just been upgrading their pieces, you know. So I really do think they'll be okay. Obviously, he would have been a very nice piece to have, but you know,
he was a big hitter, kind of Bob Sanders-esque. Not to the same degree as Bob Sanders, but that big hitting, just safety prototype, that's what he was.
Exactly.
So, you know, they drafted him, and Colts fans were like, it's shadows of Bob Sanders with his big hit ability. So obviously, you know, you're going to miss that. Everyone loves when you just, you know, lay the hammer down on someone. But
exactly.
Hey, I'm happy for him. I'm glad that he made the decision best for him and his family. So that's ultimately what's most important over your 10 to 12 year football career. You know, your family's there forever. So
I agree. So shout out to him for doing what he wants to do. But yeah, so I think maybe there's a chance he comes back to the NFL. Maybe.
I don't know. I feel like safety's already hard to begin with. I feel like if you get out of playing it and learning it and watching film every single day for a year or two, like it's just hard to pick up. I don't really foresee him coming back to the NFL, especially with his neck injury history. That's a tough injury to rebound from. And the fact that he was retiring probably speaks to the fact that he's worried about injuring himself again, which you can't really blame him. So I would be very surprised if he came back. You know, a tiny piece of me is still hoping that Andrew Luck will come out of retirement which I don't think will happen. He's like a stick now, but I can dream.
Literally, Colts fans heard the word retire today and just had immediate PTSD. Like, oh no.
Yeah, seriously.
Matt Ryan retires from ooh.
Oh my. Let me just say, if that happened, I'd probably have an aneurysm. So if you guys want to hear me have an aneurysm live on our podcast, look out for that. Hopefully not.
Yeah. Well, some other big news that went around the league, that's been going around the league. Minkah Fitzpatrick today is the highest paid safety in the NFL. Steelers signed him to a contract worth $18.4 million a year for 4 years. Man's getting paid over $70 million in 4 years. That's insane. But I do think this signing actually made sense. He's a huge piece to that Steelers defense. When they traded for him from Miami, that was a big deal. Like, I mean, Miami, of course, they're getting better as they are now, but still, Minkah Fitzpatrick has been such a hit for the Steelers. So I think it makes perfect sense for them to re-sign him. They're going to try and build their brand off their defense and hopefully improve their offense, because goodness, that thing needed work. But, overall, Minkah Fitzpatrick being signed 18.4, about 18.5 million a year for 4 years. I think that's a good signing. You think so, Chelsea?
Oh, yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, I think that Minkah Fitzpatrick is one of the best at his position in the league. I don't think he's the best, but I think he's one of the best. They might have overpaid him a little bit, maybe by $1 million or $2, maybe. I don't know if I would have shelled out $18 million a year, but he's definitely talented, and he's a cornerstone piece for that defense, which the Steelers brand has always been like in the trenches, like tough going running back. Like, they've never been like a pass happy, like that's just never been their brand. It's always been around defense, and it's always been around the trenches and the running game and the O-line and stuff like that. So the fact that they locked him down, it doesn't surprise me. I would have been very, very surprised if the Steelers had lost Minkah Fitzpatrick. I don't think he wants to leave. I mean, I think it's pretty evident that he loves playing there. So yeah, I think this is a good signing for both sides. Minkah likes being there. Steelers like having him. Minkah's making lots of money now. The Steelers lost money, but now their defense is still good. So, I mean, yeah, I think it's a win-win for both sides.
Exactly. Some other news is Terry McLaurin sitting out of camp right now for the Washington Commanders. And he's sitting out of camp until his new contract is agreed upon between him and the team.
Which apparently these sides are very far from agreement on, as I was reading earlier.
Yeah, I think that's going to be interesting. Ron Rivera, he expressed like he gets it. Rivera seems like a guy, he does support the players a lot. He's not one to, get super mad at the players or go kick their kicker or something like that.
He's always been personable.
Yeah, so I think that honestly, him saying that makes sense and is probably good for, and also in my opinion, you would want to say that, because if you want him back on the team, you really don't want to go be blasting him on the media.
So who doesn't deserve money? Terry McLaurin.
Exactly. So it's like
that would probably not go over well.
That's how you lose the guy 101 right there. But I see here, Chelsea, you added to the notes that Colts are allegedly interested. I could see it.
Yeah.
They do need a receiver.
Yeah, so Colts fans on Reddit have readily been pointing out the fact that the Colts skipped over Terry McLaurin to take Paris Campbell in the draft. Which, if you know anything about Terry McLaurin and Paris Campbell, there's obviously been one who is better than the other, and it is not Paris Campbell. So it's kind of salty that we had the opportunity to get him to begin with and skipped on him. I'm sure they had their reasons, obviously, but it just kind of hurts when like you're interested in him now and you had an opportunity a couple of years ago to draft him. So that always hurts. Yeah. But yes, apparently the Colts have inquired for Terry McLaurin. Like whether that be an email, a phone call, FaceTime, I don't know the extent of what that means.
I would actually be so funny.
Hey, Ron, you want to trade your star wide receiver? Yeah. I'm sure that's how
Ron's over here mowing the grass. Just like, what?
Right. But yeah, I obviously would be super extremely thrilled if we got Terry McLaurin. I mean, the dude is spectacular. Just kind of sucks that he's stuck on a mediocre team. But I mean, the dude, he's awesome. I'd honestly be surprised if Terry McLaurin left Washington, because they just got Carson Wentz, and he is Carson Wentz's number one weapon. So You just got Carson Wentz and then you traded away as the best guy. It's like, we really believe in you. Never mind. We just traded away someone. Right. Surprisingly, the Colts do not have a ton of cap space right now because they had a pretty busy offseason signing some stellar players, to be honest, doing some trades, which doesn't happen that often for us Colts fans. So we were all, ecstatic online. But yeah, we have to re-sign Quentin Nelson and Michael Pittman and Jonathan Taylor all in like the next 2 years. And I believe that if it comes down to re-signing Quentin Nelson or trading for Terry McLaurin and paying Terry McLaurin $16 million a year, they're going to pick Quentin Nelson because Quentin Nelson, right? I would be super, super thrilled if we got him, but I think it's going to take a big package, and I don't know if the Colts are willing to give that up. So I foresee the Colts probably signing Julio Jones or re-signing T.Y. Hilton and just riding with what they have instead of doing this, because I'd be very surprised. Like, I think it would take a big package to get Terry McLaurin. I mean, the dude is really good. I actually saw a headline earlier. I was just generally looking at Terry News, and they were talking about a Washington Commanders and 49ers trade. Straight up, Terry McLaurin for Deebo Samuel. Both unhappy with their contracts, both wanting to go somewhere else. Straight up trade. I looked at that. I was like, I don't know about that.
No way. I'm sorry. The 49ers are not getting near the value at that point. Not offense to Terry McLaurin, but it's like,
I mean, Deebo Samuel plays 3 positions. So.
Exactly. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I bet like Washington would love that deal, to be honest, but oh my gosh, that'd be insane.
It'll definitely be interesting though. I mean, look at all the second, third year receivers we're seeing kind of like in their contract negotiations. I mean, think of DK, right? DK's having contract issues. Think of Deebo Samuel, he's having contract issues. You think of Terry McLaurin, he's having contract issues. Like, it's that time of the year where everyone has contract issues. So we'll see if any of them end up getting moved. I would be particularly surprised if any of those 3 moved at all, because I feel like that'd be really stupid of their teams. But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see where Terry ends up. Washington might get increasingly desperate if they do not get any closer to a deal with Terry, which may lead them to considering Indy as a trade partner, which if you look at the trade history between Washington and Indianapolis over the past couple of years, generally with the NFC East, I mean, Colts have history with the NFC East. I mean, they got Carson Wentz from the Eagles and then traded them to Washington, right? So we have trade history with Washington, and we've agreed on pretty big deals before. So there may be a chance, but I'm not getting my hopes up because then my heart will be broken, and I just can't do that right now.
Yeah, don't do that. Not worth it. I'm kidding. But yeah, and then a little bit of not team related news, but kind of interesting. Richard Sherman is going to be joining Amazon's Thursday Night Football cast. For those of you who don't know, Thursday Night Football is going to be broadcasted on Amazon Prime now, which I think is fair because Thursday Night Football was just kind of struggling. So I don't know, it just wasn't doing that well. But
when you air it on NFL Network, and most people who watch the NFL don't have NFL Network in their cable packages, it's like you're not going to get the viewership you want.
Exactly.
So I'm sure this was a money move for the NFL, just trying to get more money. So
I would bet more people have Amazon Prime than they do NFL Network.
Absolutely.
So I think this is pretty cool. It could be interesting. Richard Sherman, obviously knowing the game, he's going to have, going to be able to use that player sense to be able to broadcast it, similar to how Tony Romo does. But another interesting point is he said, look, he's still keeping the door open to playing. He said, if a team calls me in December and needs help, I'll play. That's what he said. So he's going to be on that cast, but he very well could just be like, look, I'm going to play. If I've been called, I'm going to play. And don't be surprised if he finds
the Bucks
somewhere.
Just call him up like, we have 4 injuries like last year. You know what we need again? Richard Sherman.
Yeah. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But
he would be a good commentator. I mean, the dude knows the game. So
if you've ever heard Richard Sherman speak, he actually is very well spoken. He's like, everyone just remembers that interview that they did like right after the NFC Championship game ended, and like when he but like if you actually listen to him in interviews, he's pretty well spoken and calm, like pretty calm. But yeah, So the next section we got here, the last little bit we've got for today's episode, we have the hot take, because
Wiles' hot take
okay,
specifically.
I don't know if this is even a hot take, but okay.
But he's going to
Actually,
talk
no.
about it because
No, this
he's
definitely.
angry.
No, I'm not angry. I just think,
I don't know.
okay,
You seem kind of angry.
okay, listen here. The hot take I've got here is that I think the Browns may have just made a colossal mistake getting Deshaun Watson. Now, I know that some people will be like, but Deshaun Watson's elite, but he's this, but he's that. And that may be true, but the Browns are built to win right now. The problem is Deshaun Watson may not be playing right now. He may not have, like, we don't know. There are new cases still coming up to this day, and they keep coming. And, you know, I'm not saying that just because there's a lot of reports, it means it's right, but it is suspect. We cannot deny that. We can't, I think it's fair to say it's suspect, but I don't really want to get into all that. But what I do want to say here is that, you know, obviously it is innocent till proven guilty. We're going to see where the court cases will lie. But anyways, here's the thing about this. When you get a player this controversial, no matter how good they are, your team will be a media circus every week. Every week you will be the talk of Sports Center. You will be the talk of everybody, but it's not talk for the right reasons. It's talk because your team has drama. You have willingly accepted this drama. You have brought on Deshaun Watson. And not only that, you made him the highest paid quarterback like ever by like a long shot too. And you guaranteed him a ton of money. I know they only are giving him $1 million for his first year, which I think if you're going to do that, that's a smart move. But who knows? This could go into the next 2 to 3 years. So have the Browns potentially made a huge mistake? And I'm sorry, the Browns have not exactly had a good history when it comes to quarterbacks. Losing franchises have a losing culture, and they make these kinds of mistakes. They looked like they were maybe turning it around with Baker, but they have severed that relationship now. I really don't think he wants to play for them. And
can't blame him.
Yeah, to be honest, like, okay, people say, well, it's just business, you know, it is what it is. Okay, fine. But then it is also just his business to be like, okay, you didn't want me though. I'm not going to play for you. I'll play for somebody else. Literally. And that's, you know, whether people like that nowadays, that players are like that, that's just how they are, and you have to deal with it. If players don't want to play nowadays, they won't. That's just how it works. And you have to accept that as the owner, whether you like it or not. And I think for Baker Mayfield, whether you think like, oh, well, it's just business, that's how it works. Okay, fine. But these business decisions have consequences. And inevitably, it had the consequence of pissing off Baker Mayfield. And now I don't think he wants to play for them. I think he wants to be traded somewhere else. He requested one. They denied it. So do you really think that helped him anymore? Like, I really think Browns management may have screwed this up. They may have. If Deshaun Watson could come out and play and he's proven innocent and he's all good, then fine. Your big gamble paid off. Probably, unless you don't make the playoffs or something crazy like that, which, I mean, yet again, it's the Browns. It's kind of like, I'm sorry, you know, it is the way that it is. They've struggled throughout their whole existence. So I don't know. I just think that they could have made a colossal mistake in not only getting Deshaun Watson, but paying him a ton of money, giving him the royal treatment, really, you know. And now, you know, now they're over here trying to fight Houston back for the picks that they traded. They might have a case because there is some accusations against Houston that they knew what was going on. So they might actually have a case there. In that case, they've bamboozled the entire league. But also that one's, I think, going to be tough. I don't know if that's ever happened in NFL history. I can't think of a time. If it has, awesome. But anyways, that's my take. Chelsea, do you agree with me? What do you think?
I want to start out saying that I was reading headlines that apparently the Houston Texans organization knew that Deshaun was like getting massages and like got him hotel rooms. Now, I don't know if that is 100% true. Obviously, not saying it is. But if it is, can we just take a moment? I feel like if that is true, give the Browns their picks back because that's like totally not okay
Yeah,
of the Texans organization.
that's fair.
Yeah. So just as like an aside, like if that is true, that is terrible, and they should give their picks back because they don't deserve to get them because they may have been encouraging this behavior or whatever you may have it. So yeah, just as a side note, not cool if that's true. But I don't disagree with you, Chris. This is a big risk, big reward move, right? If Deshaun doesn't get suspended, right? Makes it out of there alive, maybe it's suspended 3 games, say 4 games, 6 games, whatever, or not suspended at all. The Browns win because Deshaun Watson is a top 5 quarterback when he is healthy. At least the last time he played, he was a top 5 quarterback. Obviously, he hasn't played for a while. He might not be anymore. Only time will tell. But when he was playing, he was a top 5 quarterback. So if that's the guy that they get who ends up not being suspended, they unequivocally have won the trade. Like taking all of the ethical drama out of it and just talking sports and statistics, yeah, they definitely win if it goes that way. Now, on the flip side, if they got him and the NFL says, actually, the NFL kind of has a history of like seeing the courts make decisions on players and then looking at a player and be like, you know what, even though the court said you were okay, we're still going to suspend you for X amount of, whatever. So for all we know, the court could say he's fine. And the NFL might say, no, he's not, and suspend him anyways. They have a history of doing that. If that is the case, the Browns are screwed. So the Browns are either a top 10 team in the league or they're screwed and they're a bottom 10 team in the league. Like there's really no middle ground. Like with Deshaun, you're excellent. Without him, and especially if you throw trading Baker on top of that, you're going to be bad. Like it doesn't matter how good your roster is. If you have a 3rd, 4th string guy commanding your team, like you're not going to get anywhere. I mean, even if that does happen, they trade Baker, say. Deshaun gets suspended for a year. Okay, let's say they trade for Jimmy Garoppolo, right? Everyone knows the 49ers are trying to ship off Jimmy, right? Do we really think that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to get them that far in the playoffs, realistically? Because I'm of the opinion that would be a no. So, yeah, the Browns just browned this up. It's very Browns to make a move that is high risk, high reward. That's just kind of how they've always been. That's just the Browns.
Mm-hmm.
Just how they play things. And for the vast majority of their franchise history, it has not worked out in their favor. So you'd think that they would start kind of maneuvering in a different way, but they have not.
Mm-hmm.
That's their choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to add, if I can, I think that you also got to wonder whether Deshaun is going to be good. He hasn't played in like 2 years. And even if he comes back healthy, even if everything's cleared, what if he's just not the same too? 2 years off of football is rough. I mean, obviously there's your natural talent, there's all of that, but I don't know. That's a possibility too. Anyways, Chelsea, please continue.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot different. Like, you can be an NFL player who's super, super good. You don't play for a while, you come back. Yeah, you might still have all the knowledge and you might still have the athletic ability, but being able to put those things together on a field with a team against another team when you have no chemistry, that's a whole different story than just being athletically gifted. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Like I was saying, kind of knowing the history of the Browns and their decisions, it would not surprise me if it did not pan out for them. And then to make things even worse, it wouldn't surprise me if they traded Baker away, which if I was Baker and I didn't get traded, if he held out, who in the NFL is going to blame him? Seriously. Like if Baker just refused to play, like the Browns literally cast him onto a curb and drove away in the opposite direction. And if Deshaun gets suspended and the Browns come running back to Baker Mayfield and say, Baker, hey, how's it going? So we have an opening quarterback spot. Would you like it? I could very much see Baker Mayfield being like, heck no, I don't like it. Get away from me. And refusing to play for them. it wouldn't surprise me knowing how dramatic Baker Mayfield can be and knowing how stupid the Browns have been. That combination would just not surprise me.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting. It will be interesting. Deshaun, the last time we saw Deshaun play last season, there's no questioning that he is an extremely talented quarterback. No one's going to question that. But people are going to question when you don't play for 2 years. I mean, it doesn't matter how good you are.
Yep.
If you don't play for 2 years, that's going to matter and that's going to hurt,
Mm-hmm.
So I guess only time will tell, but I'm of the opinion it would not surprise me if he got suspended. Would not surprise me if he got suspended a whole year. Wouldn't surprise me if he got suspended multiple years. If he gets suspended multiple years, the Browns are done. Like, trade everyone. Trade Chubb. Trade everyone. Like, just trade everyone.
Because
you might as well just start over.
Your win now team is gone now. And
Right.
so I really think, and I mean, also you got to look at it like, what about a free agent quarterback coming in or trying to trade for one? What are you going to tell them? Who is going to want to be in this hot mess of a situation where also a team's ownership blatantly, showed their quarterback that they appeared to be loyal to, that we're not? Like, how they have to realize like what they've done with this, right? They have to realize like what this looks like to a player's perspective.
I mean,
right?
I think the fans have realized it. I think you could ask a Browns fan and say, hey, do you think they handled Baker Mayfield well? And I imagine the vast majority of them would go, no. So it seems the fans haven't figured out. But yeah, I mean, what are they going to say? Imagine Tom Brady walks into your corporate office, right? And you're like, Tom, welcome to Cleveland, a city no one wants to come to, and a place in Ohio that no one ever wants to go to in their free time. What would you say if we told you that not only are we dramatic and quarterbacks hate us, but we have no money because one of them is suspended? Doesn't that sound great? Like, seriously, who's gonna listen to that and be like, sign me up?
Exactly. I really
unless
believe
you draft someone and they don't have a choice. Like,
yeah, I mean, their only solution at that point is just, all right, we got to take some draftee, which I mean they'll play.
you tank for Bryce Young.
Exactly.
Yeah, pick Bryce Young.
So I really think, and that's just going to have to lead them to trading for more, because what if they don't end up getting the top picks? This just could be a real bad mess for the Browns.
And then they'd have to trade away Deshaun or release him, and that's going to be hundreds of millions of dollars in dead money.
I don't know exactly, like maybe his guaranteed money is canceled if maybe the courts find him or maybe there's something to do with
I don't know the exact details of his contract situation, but I know he got paid a heckin' lot of money.
So all I'm saying, but they may not get their picks back. We don't know what the decision is going to be, but they've taken a big risk, and if it works, then great.
If it works,
done it.
They're sitting pretty. Like,
exactly, you've done it. But if this doesn't work, this is going to be one of the biggest colossal failures, I think, in NFL free agent history, and everyone's just going to be like, the Browns did it again. And so,
I think you have a point. I mean, if this falls through and say Deshaun plays, but he sucks, right? Say Deshaun gets suspended for multiple years or a year. I mean, any amount of factors that you can't control. I think that there is an argument for it being one of the worst trades in NFL history. Like, there was the reason that people didn't want to guarantee him money, right? There was a reason people didn't want to give up 6 first-round picks. There was a reason that players had been voicing concerns about him coming when it comes to culture and stuff. These reasons are valid. Obviously, has not been charged one way or the other. For all we know, he could be innocent. So time will tell.
That's
fair. But, looking at the factors, it leads one to believe that, it's not pointing in his favor. Now, obviously, I hope that nothing happened and that, everything is fine. But, man, it would just, the Browns are already a meme. Like, if this happens and he gets suspended, the Browns are going to get absolutely dragged online and in real life. It's just how it is.
Well, I know this was kind of a hot take, but I think it was good to talk about, and I think it's fair. Look, if you have any questions, comments for us, let us know. We'll talk about it. Hey, we'll be civil. We'll talk about it. But
it can be civil.
Yeah, exactly. But I just think that this could be I guess we're just gonna see. If we're wrong, fine. Fine, I'm wrong. I don't really care about being right that much, to be honest about this. So,
He
but I
only
just
cares
think
about
I
being
know.
right when he wins the game picks.
Exactly. That's all that matters. So, but anyways, I think that's gonna wrap up our episode here. So, Chelsea, do you mind leading us out of here?
Yeah, of course. Hey, thanks for listening, guys, and make sure you tune back in next week for more content. In the meantime, follow us on Twitter at LaunchCodesFB and on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube at LaunchCodesFootball. I'm Chelsea.
And I'm Chris.
And we will see you next week.
See ya.
Peace.